Greg, thank you very much. First round action from the Oakland bracket, third game of the day here in Salt Lake City. Number 3 seed Gonzaga taking on 14th seeded Xavier. I'll take a look at the bracket, and the winner here will take on the winner of the Indiana-San Diego State game, which will be coming up. Alabama has already advanced with their victory over Marquette. Let's take a look at the starting lineups. For Xavier, champions of the Atlantic 10 tournament, Burrell, Wolf in the backcourt with Duncan, Cage, and Dolman up front. Gonzaga, Altidore, Cespedes, Rivio, the guards. The electrifying Adam Morrison, National Player of the Year candidate, joined by J.P. Batista, also had a tremendous season, and Sean Mallon in the front court. Sean Miller, no stranger to the NCAA tournament as a player, as an assistant coach, but his first go-around as a head coach in his second year as the head man at Xavier. And Mark Few, talk about the success. Few has been to the tournament every year as the head coach in his 7th season at Gonzaga, an assistant from 1990 to 1999 for the Bulldogs. The officials: Ted Valentine, John Hampton, Steven Skiles. That's your crew for Gonzaga and Xavier. It is a 3 seed against a 14. Remember last year, Bucknell as a 14 seed knocked off Kansas in the first round, 64-63. It can be done. We're set. And the tip controlled by Gonzaga, 27-3 this season, the longest active winning streak in the nation, 18 in a row.
And obviously the focus will be on Adam Morrison most of the way here.
But Batista's dangerous. Jump hook. J.P. Batista averaged 19.3 points per game and 9.5 rebounds. First team all West Coast Conference this year. And a 2-0 lead for Gonzaga.
2-3 look right now to start things off by the Zags defensively.
Dolman spin. Can't get it to go initially. Second go doesn't work. Fight for it. Duncan on the inside. And a jump ball. Possession arrow to Xavier.
Dolman right underneath the basket twice and really hesitated just a touch, and that caused him some problems to get this game started. Mark Few, as you touched on, I am very, very successful. What is he, a little bit over 80% of his games so far?
Right now, the winningest active coach in Division I basketball. Should mention about Dolman, he's playing with 2 broken bones in his right hand. Drive along the baseline. Cage had it knocked free. Cage, a defensive specialist who has picked up his offense of late. And that main assignment today for Justin Cage will be the nation's leading scorer, Adam Morrison, at 28.4 points per game.
And that will be a fun matchup to watch, just to see whether he can body him up a little bit.
Here's Wolf. Kick out Burrell. Count it. That's a 3.
And Burrell is a guy who has really stepped up his game, especially as of late. He can really change the tempo of a game, and it's nice to see a guy come out who can do that, hit his first shot from the outside in rhythm.
And a 3-2 lead for Xavier, just over a minute gone by. Altidore, Cespedes, no good. Xavier looking to push it with the freshman Johnny Wolf. Gives it up. And the 3 doesn't go for Burrell. Duncan underneath, touched him last. Triple threat, Burrell, Dolman, and Duncan, who has come on of late.
And you look at the numbers, obviously just shy of 3 of them with Duncan, who has been playing well, just under 10 points a game, but gives them a nice little offensive burst. And it distributes the offense also, which is more important.
They are playing without their senior forward, Brian Thornton, out with a season-ending ankle injury back in February.
Morrison long on that shot right there. Had a pretty good look going to his left, but hit the far side of the basket with that one.
Adam Morrison, all eyes on him, a gifted scorer, confident, plays with a swagger. Can absolutely light up a scoreboard.
Switch to a man-to-man defense quickly by the Zags.
Dolman, that's a 3. And it went over the backboard, out of bounds. Now for Morrison, the junior from Spokane, Washington. Part of Team USA, 23 players named to that team that will whittle down to 12 for the Olympics in 2008.
With the double team on Batista down there.
Rivio, long triple.
And Batista had to do everything he could to kind of dribble his way out of that strong double. It was almost a triple team down deep.
And Rivio could be an X factor for this Gonzaga team if they go on an extended run in the tournament. He's had an up and down junior year out of Vancouver, Washington. He's got range, Duncan, and a little too strong on the three. Out of bounds, Xavier will hold on to it.
Well, when you think of it, your point is well taken. Rivio right there has pretty much an open look because he knows that if Batista gets it down low, you're going to see double teams. That means you're going to be open. And also the other side of the floor, you have Morrison, who's going to take someone away defensively. So you should have some good looks.
Gonzaga with a 5-3 lead. On a dump down, Cage, extra feed, foul called as Duncan went towards the rim, and he'll shoot a pair of free throws. It was Altidore Cespedes who was in the area. And Cespedes picks up his first foul. Josh Duncan, 87% free throw shooter out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Local guy who decided to stay home and attend Xavier. And hits the first. CBS Sports Line keeps you close to the action with live scoring and video highlights. Get up to the minute scores and on-demand highlights for each first-round game at CBSSportsLine.com. And at 6'9", Duncan may be their best outside shooter. Gets a bunch of good looks, and as you touched on, just under that 90%. Boy, that's nice to have a guy at the free throw line. Those kind of numbers, especially late in games. Xavier, though, is thin. Not a lot of depth because of the injury to Thornton. They dismissed their point guard, Diedrich Finn, for violating team policy. Here's Morrison. Book it. Well, the first one going to his left. He goes long with it. That one right there, more of an Adam Morrison stroke off the dribble. You see a little bit of bounce to get his excitement level up. 7-5, Gonzaga. Just over 3 minutes gone by in this first half. Gonzaga with a zone look on defense. Yeah, a lot of communication in the back. Duncan. Nice wraparound pass to get out of that double. Spreading the floor, Burrell tried to penetrate, 9 to shoot. Fadeaway jumper, and it's rebounded by Batista. Big body. He sure, and he uses it well too. Rivio trying to force the action on Wolf. Step in by Dolman. And Gonzaga maintains. Here's Morrison. Cage draws the assignment, fires a pass inside, and Mallon able to bank it in. Terrific recognition by Morrison to release the ball, and Mallon that time, I'm not so sure he was really expecting it to come that quickly over the top. Out on the perimeter, Burrell. 9-5 Bulldogs. Dolman trying to fend off Earl Knight, who's checked into the game. Knight, a defensive specialist, the senior from Seattle. Shot clock is down to 8. Burrell takes a peek. Have to work quickly here. Cage fires, a 3 doesn't go. And Batista with the board took a shot from Dolman. Yeah, he took a shot right across the side, left side with that. Dolman came in a little late on that rebound. Mallon wide open. Let's see if they look for him. And Knight goes down as there was some movement and a foul called. It'll work against Xavier as we'll step aside. Adam Morrison getting involved early, knocking down 1 out of 2 so far.
Meanwhile, in Xavier Gonzaga out in Salt Lake, it's the Gonzaga team leading by a score of 11-8, and Adam Morrison has been doing his thing, not necessarily shooting, but passing the ball all over the place.
Well, he's a guy that you have to pay attention to because he's the nation's leading scorer, so he takes advantage of that extra attention to find his teammates. Xavier started this game shooting poorly, but they're one of the better defensive teams in the country, and as a result, I think they'll be able to hang around in this one.
Yeah, everyone knows about Morrison, Greg, but Gonzaga's got some pretty good other players, and I'd like to see their point guard, Derek Rivio, get some scoring and be involved in this game.
Better than we do. We trust his instincts. And when Adam has to come out and deal with it, we make the move. Right, and he deals with it. He knows, as you just touched on, who better than Adam Morrison to know and recognize when it's time to make an adjustment with his body. But it was pretty noticeable how he was kind of lumbering back on defense the one time about a minute before he went out. Brandon Cole hitting 1 out of 2 free throws, so Morrison getting a breather in a 5-point game. Fargo is the freshman from Chicago. or Chicago, whichever you choose.
I'm writing that one down.
Pendergraft. And it rims out. Fight for it underneath. Larry Gerganius had checked into the game for the first time. And it goes out of bounds. Tuesday on The Amazing Race, get behind the wheel with the teams as they speed around a world-famous test track. That's Tuesday on CBS, America's #1 network. Pargo, younger brother of Chicago Bulls guard Gennaro Pargo. Big-time recruit for Gonzaga. Here's Batista. Soft touch doesn't go. Long rebound leaks out to Xavier. And Gonzaga able to get back defensively. Gerganius, though, the step in and the steal.
Yeah, Duncan put that on the floor. It was a lazy bounce pass. Not at this level of play.
Rivio. One dribble and a jumper. Rebound. Pendergraft fighting. And he draws the foul. So off the board so far, Xavier has held its own. But an offensive board for Pendergraft will lead to 2 free throws. And a timeout. 10:51 to play here in the first half. We'll come back to Salt Lake City in a moment. Since December.
Right.
And you wonder in a tight game against an opponent that right now is on a roll, how Gonzaga will fare. Coming up, singular at the half. Greg Gumbel, Clark Kellogg, Seth Davis will take you out for a live look at all the action going on in the tournament. Get you caught up on all the latest tournament news, plus a singular Naismith update. Singular at the half. Rivio comes up with it and lays it in.
Nice job there by Knight. Mark Few now changes the defense for the second time to go to a 1-2-2 looking for traps. And this is where Knight is very good defensively.
Dolman gives it up. Xavier 22, Gonzaga 21, under 8 minutes to go. First half.
And they slide back into what looks like a 2-3, but has the makings of a matchup. There's a double team strongly in the corner, and a timeout.
Now Cage, recognizing he was in some trouble, takes the timeout with 7:40 left. First half. It's Xavier out in front by 1. Valentine and Hampton chatting about it along the baseline. And Xavier's going to hold on to it after the timeout. Adam Morrison trying to get going here. Late stages, first half. His team is down.
All right. Meanwhile, other action taking place. Xavier and Gonzaga in Salt Lake City. Ian Eagle and Jim Spinarkel are there.
33-29, Xavier X marks the spot right now for the Musketeers. 3:55 to play. First half. Last touch by Batista, so Xavier will toss it in. Adam Morrison, 12 points. He's the high man so far. But they've done a very good job defensively, as Jim pointed out, making him work for not only his points, but for his field goal attempts. Kick out, Burrell.
I like the way Burrell puts it on the floor once he gets it outside, too. See him attack it, there he goes again.
Flicks a pass over to Cage. Morrison there defensively, 10 to shoot. Cross court. Burrell, shot clock down to 7. Ball movement, Duncan.
Great ball movement. Somebody's got to shoot eventually, though.
They do, and it's Raymond. Knocked outside, Rivio is running. Right down the middle, and he puts it upstairs for Batista.
Boy, he put it upstairs and just on the right spot, too, because I think it was Burrell who was underneath Batista running the whole way there.
And Xavier's lead is down to 2, a 7-0 run for Gonzaga. Under 3 minutes to go, first half.
Mark Few on the sidelines, encouraging his team to pick up the defensive effort.
Rivio called for the hold on Burrell.
Watch this little floater pass at the end of this play, but watch how difficult it is to catch, because look at Burrell's right underneath him. Good concentration level, though, for Batista coming down the floor.
And Rivio made that pass with his offhand and put it exactly where it had to be for Batista. 19 fouls against Gonzaga. So Burrell at the free throw line, 76% shooter. Xavier up by 3. This is the Oakland bracket. Winner here will meet the survivor of Indiana San Diego State coming up here in Salt Lake City. 10 points now for Burrell, 35-31 Musketeers.
Here comes Morrison off a couple of delayed screens on the left side. Very infrequently does he stop moving.
Rivio looking for the screen, and an air ball. Loose ball foul called. Cage was operating along that baseline.
Now I think if you're Xavier, you have to get him out of this game.
And it is his second personal foul with 2:34 left on the clock.
It's a good move here by Sean Miller. Get him off the floor. The most important stat on the stat sheet at halftime would be whether he has 2 or 3 fouls. By sitting him down, you can get him back psychologically ready to go for the second half against Morrison.
1-1. Second free throw coming. Tonight on The Late Show, Dave's got Charles Barkley, plus a special top 10 with speed skating gold medalist Chad Hedrick. That's tonight, The Late Show with David Letterman. And it rims out on the second attempt. It's a 3-point differential. Morrison now 13 points to lead Gonzaga. Way outside, Cole. Burrell coming to the ball with 16 to shoot. Matched up with Morrison using the screen. Now a double from Batista. 10 on the timer, the freshman Wolf. Burrell on a crossover. Kick out. Shot clock winding down. Wolf with a dipsy-do.
Boy, a little bit of an extra extension there by Wolf.
Johnny Wolf, the bucket.
And it appears that every time they get the Morrison one-on-one defensively, they keep attacking him.
There's Morrison, fade away. That is smooth.
And he'll take advantage of the fact that Cage is on the bench and try to shoot over people.
37-34, Morrison now with 15. Spin move by Duncan and the scrape from Pendergraft.
Now here comes the step, and watch the extra extension. Little swing from right to left there to give yourself a little bit more momentum, and Wolf finishes it off.
Third foul on David Pendergraft. Wolf is a freshman from Cincinnati, St. Xavier High School. His dad, Marty, a 1979 grad of Xavier, basketball and tennis player. Pendergraft to the bench. 3 personal fouls.
CBS Sports presents Singular at the Half, sponsored by Singular, raising the bar.
Hi, everyone. Welcome once again to our studios here in New York for the Singular Halftime Report. And the Xavier Musketeers with a 3-point lead on Gonzaga at the break. Greg Gumbel along with Clark Kellogg and Seth Davis. You guys have been just sitting here marveling at how well the Musketeers have been playing this game.
Well, they made shots after they struggled early on. They knocked down some threes, and I thought their defense was pretty good for the most part, but Adam Morrison has kept the Gonzaga Bulldogs in it.
And what else is new? Adam Morrison is obviously the guy, and he's going to be the best player on the floor. But I just think that Gonzaga is too reliant in this habit of just relying on having Adam Morrison rescue them. They need more contributions from their other guy.
Much closer than that. I mean, locked up at 44. Both teams giving it a great effort here to start this second half.
Going to be interesting to see how Gonzaga responds defensively. You know, you got to remember, Xavier actually lost 4 of 6 down the stretch. Remember, the only reason why they're here is because they won the A-10 tournament. So you might think that Gonzaga has a chance to overmatch them a little bit, but it hasn't happened.
Xavier hasn't shown any fear about launching long-range missiles, and that one puts them up 47-44.
Justin Cage knocking down, I think that's the 7th three-pointer now made by Xavier, and we've talked about it in countless tournaments. When you can shoot the three-point shot, you always have a chance to stay in games or come back from deficits.
That might be a message right there. I know there's still plenty of time left in this game for Gonzaga to come back and make their run, but shots are dropping for Xavier.
Cage chasing down Morrison, asking for it. Morrison the drive, strip, but a foul. And again, he had to work just to get his hands on the ball.
But another little subtle move right there. You notice the way he ran into that particular shot.
Well, Xavier, they don't fear the stash. And with the injury to Thornton, Cage has been asked to do a little bit more scoring.
Yeah, as have different guys on this team also have been asked to play out of position a little bit.
Duncan.
Yep, take advantage of your minutes any way you can.
57-49.
A big 3 minutes coming up for Gonzaga right now.
The pace of this game is really slowed down. Pendergraft, baseline, count it.
Good isolation from the bucket, on the bucket along the baseline. That's one of the things the Zags do very well. They set their offense up and take advantage of the weak side baseline.
It's a 6-point game. Pendergraft with 4, 9.5 remaining here in Salt Lake City. Winner will take on the survivor of the Indiana-San Diego State game still to come. Down low, oh, the position, goaltending. Cage got the perfect position underneath. And Heitfeld was too late.
And you see a little bit of frustration coming across from Mark Few right now. And this is off the glass, and you notice you can take a ball in college off the glass as long as it's on the way up. That one, though, hit its peak and started to come back down, and that's goaltending.
And Batista just popped off the bench. He'll check in next dead ball. And even 9 minutes to play. Pendergraft. Now it's Rivio. Shot clock down to 12. Morrison seeks it out and hits a 3.
Yeah, the game is changing just a little bit right now. A little bit of a momentum shift. Morrison starting to wind it up a little bit.
24 for Adam Morrison. It's a 5-point differential. Duncan is back in there. And a travel called. Xavier turns it over.
We take a look at Morrison hanging in the air just a little bit. Great rotation on the ball. And Sean Miller knows right now. I think he can sense a little bit of this shift also. Making a couple of comments to Ted Valentine about that call.
And Batista is back with 8.5 to go.
But it was not Ted's call.
Well, send the message for later.
Absolutely.
Rivio. Gonzaga down 5. Morrison wants it.
Carried it.
Wow.
Bring back that call.
Ted Valentine the call on Adam Morrison. And a turnover, empty trip Gonzaga. 59-54 Xavier. There's Dolman, tight defense. Pendergraft. Burrell makes his move. The bump. And he's shooting free throws.
All right, you don't see this call too often. Let's see the carry. Oh, yeah. Hand underneath the ball. And he was starting into his offensive motion to give himself an advantage. They let them get away with the carry if you don't get an advantage, but you're starting into your move, they're going to call it.
Foul trouble continues for Gonzaga. Derek Rivio, his 4th, joining Batista. At the line, Burrell, 76% shooter. This sophomore has star quality. Out of Hargrave Military Academy. Stanley Burrell shares the same name as MC Hammer. No reaction from you, Joe.
Yeah. I think that's Burrell on the back, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Burrell on the back. Could be Hammer time later for Xavier if they keep it up. 7:46 to play. Morrison, a 3. No good. Knight the rebound, wheels inside, and puts it in.
Boy, the springs were working for Knight that trip. The offensive glass, once again, you know who's shooting the ball, Morrison, but you know that it's going to come down softly. Very infrequently does he shoot a long shot and have it clank off the board or the rim and kick out far.
61-56. Burrell. Spin.
Wow, some move right there to get his jumper off in the 15-foot range. Don't be surprised to see Morrison trying to pull up on somebody.
Morrison on the move, met by Cage. Ball movement. Knight, a 3, buries it. Earl Knight. Back-to-back buckets for Gonzaga. Timeout, Xavier. It's a 2-point game with 6:56 to play. Earl Knight, his offense has reemerged. Shot clock is down to 12. Duncan sets the high screen. Burrell works around it. Duncan, pump fake, driving, and he gets the layup.
Oh, for a shooter, that's another good move. Just like Morrison down the other end, Duncan decides, I'm not going to shoot the ball. It's a backcourt violation by Morrison. Good call from the officials right there. But Duncan making a nice decision down his end. Morrison, a little mental mistake at half court.
The number 3 seed in the Oakland bracket in a now with 14th seeded Xavier. The champions of the Atlantic 10 tournament in front. Dolman. Out of the corner, Duncan, too strong on a 3. And an over the back call, B.J. Raymond. It'll send Morrison to the free throw line for a 1-and-1. 2:33 left on the clock.
2.5 to play.
From both 43 seconds left. Morrison gives it up. And Batista, the leaner.
Another terrific decision by Morrison. He comes around that curl cut as if he's getting ready to pull up for a long shot. And Batista understands the play as well as anybody. Great work by the
Kevin, no argument. Outstanding game. George Washington survives the UNC Wilmington bid in Salt Lake City. Gonzaga by 3. Ian Eagle and Jim Spinarkle.
The number 3 seed in the Oakland bracket, Gonzaga, leading 14th seeded Xavier, 76-73, 34.4 remaining on the clock. Xavier has led this one throughout most of the night, but Adam Morrison making clutch plays, both shooting and passing. The latest, a dish to Batista.
When Batista had picked up his 4th foul, that Morrison was going to start taking not only more shots, but getting more touches, and his decisions have been terrific down the stretch in terms of when to shoot, when to drive, and also, as you just touched on, when to pass the basketball.
Game reset. Xavier has no timeouts remaining.
They want to attack the rim. They don't have to settle for a 3-point shot here.
There's Burrell. He draws Batista for the tie. No good. Morrison up high, rips down the loose ball, and a foul called with 18.4 left.
Only his 2nd rebound, but a big one in traffic. And not only that, but he ends up going to the free throw line again off his other rebound. Burrell had an opportunity right there. He gets a good look, but who was guarding him? Batista, the big guy out on the court versus the small guy. That's a huge advantage for the little guy. You look at the intensity of Morrison because he knows he's ending up at the free throw line.
7 of 9 tonight. First one is good. 2-possession game with 18.4 left on the clock. Altidore Cespedes checks in. Batista, he heads to the bench. 34 points for Morrison. Tack on another. 78-73. 14 seconds. Xavier has to work quicker than this.
Sure do.
Dolman a 3. Side rim. Duncan can't grab it. And a foul called with 6.5. Boy, oh boy, did Gonzaga receive a scare tonight from Xavier. But the Bulldogs will have enough. Our Chevrolet players of the game. Stanley Burrell for Xavier, 20 points. Adam Morrison, 35 to lead Gonzaga.
Well, Morrison steps up and answered. Xavier basically gave him 36 minutes of everything they could go at. Keep in mind, they don't have a deep bench, so that probably caught up to them down the stretch here, but a little bit too much of Adam Morrison really directing the traffic from the forward position.
And Pargo, 1 out of 2. Final 4 seconds. Here in Salt Lake, Burrell takes it end to end for the bucket. That'll do it. Gonzaga tested in the first round, but the Bulldogs win it. Over Xavier, 79-75. The number 3 seed in the Oakland bracket moves on. They'll take on the winner of the Indiana-San Diego State game, still to come. For Jim Spinarkle, this is Ian Eagle. So long from the Huntsman Center. Gonzaga a winner. Greg Gumbel coming up with a road to the Final Four right after this.